The shameful and momentarily effective contrivance that is the story of Shirley Sherrod and the Obama administration should not surprise anyone. For generations, the conservative movement has targeted white voters, along the overwhelming majority of the voting populace, with political tactics disguised as stories to scare them that voting rights and property rights and educational rights and everything that Americans are supposed to be guaranteed, that those things are a zero-sum game. The stories all go that the elevation of African Americans into equal participation into the electoral process, into politics, business, schools, and the rest of American life will necessarily take those things away from white people. So white people need to defend themselves against it. It's a calculated strategy, and it works over and over and over again. At least it has until right this second. Wonder if that's ever going to change. Joining us now is Eugene Robinson, MSNBC political analyst and Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist and associate editor for The Washington Post. Hi, Gene. It's nice to see you.
Hi, Rachel. Good to be here. And thank you so much for reminding me of a word I hadn't heard in many years, negrophobia.
Negrophobia.
I know.
It's actually perfect, though, because it really is about targeting white people to be afraid. It is picking on black people, but it's picking on black people for a presumed white audience to make white people afraid that black people are coming to take what's theirs. I mean, I feel like this tactic is as old as the sun. Do you see it that way?
Absolutely it is, and you certainly see it being played out. The black people are just foils in this tactic. It really is aimed at white people, and there's been an evolution of it now, though, because it's not just black people who fully participate in American life. It's black people who achieve a certain status and power, and that once they achieve that status and power, they inevitably are going to use it to take revenge against whites somehow, and it's perfectly set up for that sort of thing. There's an African-American president. There are a lot of African-Americans who have advanced in every walk of American life, and the nation is moving forward every year toward the time when there will not be a racial or ethnic majority in this country, just a bunch of minorities. That freaks people out, and so hence the evolution of this tactic. But in a larger sense, it's the same old story.
And you saw it, it's popped up in ways that sometimes seem surprising. I remember being completely befuddled when, during the fight over health reform, some people on the right started to say that health reform was actually a stalking horse for reparations for slavery. Remember that line from right-wing talk radio?
Where did that come from? These things are so random that it takes a few days just to even register and say, well, wait a minute, how in the world do you get from here to there? That things have nothing to do with each other. I've got to admit that my favorite, and we're being kind of detached and ironic here because I do take this stuff seriously, but in fact I write about it in a column for tomorrow. It's clearly a tactic. It is a political tactic. This isn't a random kind of thing. It's not just news organizations. These are political pros who know how to do this sort of thing. But the thing about the new Black Panther Party, this is a couple of guys. The whole organization's membership might climb into the dozens, maybe on a good day. And if you watch Fox News, you would think that there were cabals and hordes, really, of new Black Panthers. These guys are such whack jobs that the original Black Panthers are issuing statements disavowing any connection with them. So clearly they're not good people. But there are only like a handful of them. Yet they've been made into this huge national threat. It's all part of the same game.
And that's the thing, is that it only makes sense if you recognize the continuing narrative and how it has functioned so well politically over time. I mean, with the new Black Panthers thing, it's not just that it's like three random guys wearing sandwich boards and braiding their beards, which is absolutely is. It's that this supposed horrible incident with them happened happened 2 years ago. I mean, it happened during the election, but all of a sudden there was a need for a new scary black thing in order to make people afraid about voting issues. With Acorn gone, what tape are we going to run?
Like, we only have 3 seconds of tape. You know,
and if you play it for longer than 3 seconds, it might give some dangerous context. So you can't allow that. Anyway, so let me ask you specifically about what happened today. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack accepted full responsibility, apologized to Shirley Sherrod, offered her a new job at USDA. Obviously, that goes some distance to making up for this huge mistake. But what else does the administration have to do to recover from this?
Well, first of all, I think they have to recognize that they handled this really poorly. I mean, they forced the woman to pull her car over as she's trying to drive home, and resign on the spot rather than be criticized on Glenn Beck on Monday evening. Before anybody knew what she had said, even took the time to get her side of the story, which clearly was totally exculpatory. It never happened. It was just the diametrical opposite of what Breitbart had claimed. So I think the White House has to learn that lesson, that you don't have this sort of knee-jerk reaction anytime someone whispers black racism. You don't have to freak out and do something immediately. At least get the facts. Appearances matter, but appearances stem from facts. The other thing I think the White House ought to do is recognize that here's a time, we're talking about this tonight because the curtain has kind of been pulled back. I mean, this was so transparent, the way that Andrew Breitbart edited that clip to make it seem as if she were saying something diametrically opposed to what she actually said. And when the truth came out, you can just see it as the tactic that it is. And I think there have to be ways to capitalize on that and to push back on that. I think the way you deal with bullies is, you don't want to run away from them. You confront them and you push back. So maybe that's a lesson the White House can draw from this too. Push back.
Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist and associate editor for The Washington Post, and guy who is both as amused and horrified by all this as I am, I think, in equal measure. I really appreciate it, Gene. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rachel. Great to be here.